Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Mull for Tuesday, the 17th of May. Continuing with Robert Murray McShane's reading scheme, today we read 1 Peter chapter 4, and there's a continuation of some of the thoughts of yesterday, our difference as Christians in the world. In verse 3, he writes, "For you have spent enough time in the past doing what pagans choose to do, living in debauchery, lust, drunkenness, orgies, carousing, and detestable idolatry. They are surprised that you do not join them in their reckless, wild living, and they heap abuse on you." Now, I don't think most of us are in a society where reckless, wild living is that much of a problem. And we tend to look and say, oh, that highlights what evil and wrong living is. Whereas what was actually going on was that the Christians were just being different to the people round about them. Back in the first century, that carousing and orgies and drunkenness and idolatry, that was just part of life. That's how people lived. That's what was normal in society. That's what normal people did. And when the Christians started being weird and stopped joining in what everyone else was doing, people couldn't understand it. And they ended up heaping abuse on them. And we sometimes think that because we're not joining in any kind of idolatry and orgies, there aren't any round about where we live most of the time. We're not joining in that kind of life. We're doing well. We actually need to be looking at what is the rest of society doing and where are we called to be different? Do we actually need to go and have that drink after the game of golf? Do we go out with the people after squash and go out for a drink and another drink and end up saying, well, don't worry, I'll Uber home? Or do we be different? Do we go out for the drink and say, oh, I'm just having soft drinks today, I'm not going to drink any beer? How different are we to the world round about us? The first century Christians were different. Peter was challenging them to be different and saying, when you're different, people will heap abuse on you. And that got me thinking, how much abuse has been heaped on me for being different? Not much at all. And that really gets me thinking, are we following Christ or are we just drifting with the world? So that's a challenge, well, for me anyway, and maybe for you as well. And our call is to be different, because if we're different, then we have something to share with the world. If we're the same as everybody else, we've got nothing of significance to share. So let Christ shape you. Let the scriptures guide you. Be different, even if people end up not understanding, being dismissive, and heaping abuse on you, knowing that as you walk with God, you are blessed.